Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to continue on with the 2011 CSMC, that's the Canadian Senior Mathematics Competition. And once again, the year is 2011. Hopefully, you took my advice from the last video to heart and you tried the contest ahead of time. So, you're watching question 2 to either see how I did it or maybe you got stuck and you want to know how to do it. That's fine. But let's take a look at question number 2 now. We're still in part A, so it's still just going to be a need final answer, and that's it. So question number 2. 4 years ago, Daryl was 3 times as old as Joe was. In 5 years, Daryl will be twice as old as Joe will be. How old is Daryl now? Okay, so this is a nice sort of word problem. Don't let it confuse you, but you need to sit down and you need to say, okay, there's this variable, and I'm going to set these sorts of things. You can't just have D is Daryl's age. You can't have a variable like that. It doesn't work that way because then is that Daryl's age now? Is that Daryl's age in a little bit? So that sort of stuff. So let's take a look. So 4 years ago, so let D be Daryl's age. And there's another fellow, Joe. Let's let J be Joe's age. Again, it's Joe's age now. We're specifying not Joe's age 4 years ago, not Joe's age in 5 years. So those are the other time frames the question asks us about. So D minus 4, that's Daryl's age 4 years ago. Okay? 4 years ago, Daryl was 3 times as old as Joe was. So again, we're talking not about, it's not going to be D minus 4 is 3J. It's D minus 4 is 3 times J minus 4. Daryl was 3 times as old as Joe was. Okay? You got to set up the equations, and once you do, it all comes out nice and neat. You just have to make sure you are sort of in the right time. So it is 4 years ago, that's Daryl's age. 4 years ago, that's Joe's age. So the other bit of information we are given is in 5 years. Well, in 5 years, Daryl is D years old now. So in 5 years, he will be D plus 5. And what does the question tell us? In 5 years, Daryl will be twice as old as Joe will be. So once again, we're going to need to talk about Joe's age in 5 years. So that's J plus 5. He's going to be twice as old as Joe in 5 years. Remember, Joe plus 5 years. So we can take these equations and we can rearrange them. We could even label them 1 and 2. So we can expand that out, 3J minus 12, and we can bring over this 4. So that's 3J minus 8. Okay? So if Joe was 3 years old, Daryl would be 1 year old. Oh, sorry, yeah, 1 year old. Okay, if Joe was 5, if J is 5, then D would have to be 7. That's the sort of relationship we're getting. All right, and the second relationship, we could call this 1 prime, 2 prime, because we're just rearranging these equations. So 2 times J plus 2 times 5, and then subtract off 5, so that's 2J plus 5. So we have these two equations. So we can set them equal to each other. So 3J minus 8 equals D is equal to 2J plus 5. And we could isolate and solve for J is what we're going to try and do. 3J minus 8 is equal to j plus 5. 3j minus 2j is equal to 5 plus 8. J is equal to 13. 3j minus 2j, that's just 1j. 5 plus 8, that's 13. So we can take this 13 that we know and sub in and find D. Either equation will work. That's the point of J. We can substitute him into either equation. So let's just do 1 prime. D was 3j minus 8. So 3 times 13 minus 8. Well, that's 39 minus 8. 31. So Daryl is currently 31. Okay, and if we wanted to, we could go back and we could check the information. You know, D minus 4, that's going to be 27. Is that the same as 3 times 13 minus 4? 27 is 9. This is 3 times 9. So yeah, that one works. In 5 years, how old will Daryl be? He'll be 36. That's 2 times how old Joe will be. So 13 plus 5, that's 18. 18 times 2, that's also 36. So we can check that our equations work and that our final values match up with what the question is giving us. We don't have to. These are just the written questions. If we're confident in our answer, or sorry, these aren't the written questions. If we're confident in our answer, we can just put the 31 down and move along. And if you do that, if you're confident in your answer, you will have time for the B part questions to really give them some thought. But if you're shaky, if you're a little worried about your part A, you're not so worried about part B because you're not even going to try it, you can spend a little time on these, double check them, you can write out your work instead of just putting a final answer and moving on. But either way, 4 years ago, Daryl, 3 times as old as Joe. In 5 years, he'll be twice as old as Joe will be. How old is Daryl now? We have solved the question. Daryl is currently 31. Okay. So that about does it for question number 2, a nice little question. And in our next video, we're going to cover question number 3 in part A. So hopefully you'll join me for that one.